Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is another episode of Talking Cinema. And I'm just going to make this clear. This is the final resurrection of this series. I'm not going to break out the shovel this time around uh, because I have a lot of fun doing these videos. I know in the past people have enjoyed watching them. And this just makes it a lot easier for me to discuss movie news, my thoughts on movie trailers, other movie related stuff, or stuff related to media in general, without being limited by time crunch or other constraints. So this is going to be a series that I'm going to be continuing as long as I am still on YouTube. And this is where you will see me talk about some of the latest topics, some of the latest hot button news when it comes to upcoming movies, as well as my quick thoughts on the latest trailers. So I might as well just start with what is probably the biggest bit of news, and that is the announcement at the Star Wars Celebration event by Disney for the next Star Wars projects on film and television. So they're doing an Ashoka TV show, which I haven't actually seen The Mandalorian or don't really know that much about that character, so I can't really say a whole lot about that. They're doing something called Acolytes, which I there's really not much I could say about that either. But I have a fair amount of things to say about at least one of the new trilogy of films that they announced. Now, they didn't actually have any titles yet for any of these, but they did list the directors who will be directing this trio of films: James Mangold, Dave Filoni, and Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy. And one of these films is going to feature the return of Rey. Yay! More Rey. That's what people wanted, right? And this is a series, by the way, the new Star Wars trilogy or universe that they created to replace the expanded universe because they, I guess, felt like it wasn't good enough, despite the fact that they ripped it off numerous times already. Oh, it's good enough for you to rip elements off from the expanded universe, but not good enough to adapt it officially, even though you have the rights? Sounds like a lot of bullshit to me. So, yeah, they think they're too good for the expanded universe, but they still use elements from it. But anyway, I haven't really thought about the new Star Wars in a long time because I hated The Last Jedi so much that I didn't even watch Rise of Skywalker. I still haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, and I have no desire to see it anytime soon, to be perfectly honest. Just like I don't have a desire to see the return of Rey. Like, who the fuck wants to see that anyway? Who wants to see Rey's return? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? Like, I don't even think Ferris Bueller wants to see the return of Rey or his teacher. So yeah, the Rey's return. That's the one that's going to be directed by Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, who was involved with the Miss Marvel Disney Plus show. And this is going to involve Rey, and she's going to be a new Jedi Master, and she's going to be training other Jedis. It's supposed to take place 15 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, oh, great. There's another one, though. It's called Skeleton Crew, and that one is, I think that's the one that's going to be directed by Dave Filoni, I think. I think that's the one that's going to be directed by him. And that one is like it's like the Goonies, but in space. That's what people are saying. Yeah, it's gonna be like the Goonies, but in space. I'm like, I don't know about that. So it's gonna be the Explorer. It's gonna be explorers. Because that's what I've been hearing. It's like Stranger Things, but in space, and I'm like, or Goonies, but in space. But so it's going to be like Explorers. It's a remake of Explorers, but with Star Wars characters, or it takes place in the Star Wars universe. That has some potential. I'd have to wait for a trailer. I'm definitely more interested in that than the new Ray movie that's coming out. Um, but also even with that, they kind of did that. It was the Ewoks movies, with the kids and the Ewoks, and it's a film that takes place within the Star Wars universe, but it's more geared towards younger audiences, that kind of thing. But still, at least it's not Ray returning for another round of banality and lameness. So, it is what it is. I'd have to wait to see a trailer. And James Mangold's film, I don't know if that is the Acolyte or not. I don't think that is. I think that's a show. But it's gonna be something that they don't have a title yet for, I guess. Something that James Mangold is gonna be doing. And I'm like, okay, that might be interesting, but I don't really know what to say about it because there's really not much information about it that's available other than the fact that James Mangold is doing it. But yeah, oh man, Ray is returning. Great. Also, I'm like, it's one of those things where I do feel bad for Daisy Ridley, because she's not a bad person by any means, and I don't blame her for taking the role of Rey in The Force Awakens. It's a big role. It could be a breakout role for her in her career, but it never really panned out. So now she's just typecast, and now she's experiencing a similar thing to what Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill, experienced after his stint as Luke. He became typecast, and so that's really what's happening here with Daisy Ridley. And so now she's left with really not a lot of other options for a paycheck other than returning to play Rey. But I do also feel that part of it is her fault because she chose some pretty bad projects. I mean, what were you expecting? Like you chose Chaos Walking and a few other films that weren't really going to be successful financially, and really were maybe a little too ambitious or too risky to be or that consistently good when it comes to the screenplay or some of the other elements enough to really get a lot of critical acclaim. So part of it is kind of her fault, but another part is completely out of her control. But I mean, despite how much sympathy I might have for her, this is gonna suck. This is gonna be bad. I think there's next to no way possible that the return of Rey is going to be anything other than a trash fire. So it looks like we have a series of horror prequels that are in the works. You have Crystal Lake, which is the prequel to Friday the 13th that I'm guessing is going to be about the rise of Pamela Voorhees, and I don't care. Really do not care about the rise of Pamela Voorhees and a prequel centering on her and her son Jason. That sounds boring to me. I never even really liked or loved the first Friday the 13th that much anyway, or the character of Pamela Voorhees. So this is definitely not something that's going to be firmly on my radar going forward. And having A24 involved makes me even more leery of it because of their track record when it comes to horror films. I believe it's HBO. It could be another company that's behind this, but it makes sense that it's HBO, such as Warner Brothers, who released the previous films. There's going to be a prequel series called Welcome to Derry, which is going to be a prequel to It. Looks like Bill Skarsgård is not going to be coming back as Pennywise, which I'm fine with because I always thought he sucked as Pennywise. I never understood the praise he got. I much prefer Tim Curry in the role. He sounded like Winnie the Pooh. I couldn't take him seriously with the way that he was doing the Pennywise voice. I expected him to ask for honey. He's going to be asking Georgie, do you want a balloon? And more, it's like, oh, Georgie, do you want a balloon or some honey? Oh, bother. That's really how he sounded like to me. He sounded like fucking Winnie the Pooh. And I know there's a Winnie the Pooh horror movie too, which is just crazy that that's actually a thing. But yeah, don't Welcome to Derry. It's a thing. I'm like, why? I'd rather try to drink a gallon of milk than in one sitting than try to watch that shit. Um, there's gonna be a Scott Pilgrim anime. So in other words, those I'm like, just like the Stranger Things animated series that I heard was announced. I'm like, this is just gonna be the start of just a shit ton of Stranger Things spin-offs, isn't it? We're gonna have the Stranger Things animated series, and then we're gonna have the Adventures of Stranger Things, but like the new Stranger Things, because it's gonna be like a new cast, but it takes place in the same timeline, and you'll have members from the original cast, like 11 or some of the other characters, show up for cameo roles. Because you know damn well that once Stranger Things does end after season 5, that it's not going to be over. You're going to have, the Adventures of Stranger Things, which is going to be the animated series. And then you're going to have the new Stranger Things, which is going to be the spinoff. And then after that, it'll be the new Stranger Things. The new and improved Stranger Things. It's just going to go on and on and on and on and on. Speaking of sequels, Josh Brolin is talking about a Sicario 3, and he's like, I would like to do it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm like, it doesn't need to happen, because we didn't need a Sicario 2. We didn't need Day of the Soldado in the first place. Like, who even remembers that movie, to be honest? The first Sicario is, in my opinion, a really good crime thriller. The second movie is average at best, and we don't need another average Sicario film. So I'm fine. I'm fine we don't have one. Not every film needs a franchise to begin with. And Sicario is definitely one of them. Looking through the list here. Oh yeah, Super Mario Brothers. The Super Mario Brothers movie is like making a ton of money and it's breaking box office records. I called it. I've had this feeling and this thought in my head for years now. If they did make a adaptation of the games that looked like the games and was CGI or was animated and there was a budget behind it and Nintendo gave it its blessing and it was marketed properly, it would be a enormous hit and probably be the biggest hit out of any video game movie to date. And that's exactly what's happening with the Super Mario Brothers movie because it has such a wide fan base. You have kids who love Super Mario Brothers, even kids now, like not just kids back in the day, but like kids now who are like 6 or 8 years old who really love the games. And you got the parents who grew up on the games. It's a perfect storm, and it's leading to record-setting box office numbers. I still haven't seen the film yet, but it looks like it could be fun. I'll probably still prefer the 1993 film because I think it's just such a bizarro, weird, unique film in its own right. But I'm glad that it's making money. I'd rather get a video game renaissance of movies than continue to see more superhero films or more sequels or more reboots to established franchises that are long past their expiration date. At least with something like Super Mario Brothers, you're getting something kind of new, something kind of unique, because you haven't seen a Mario movie like this before. So I'm all for that. I'm looking forward to more Mario movies or Sonic 3 or an eventual Legend of Zelda film or Metroid or maybe a Halo adaptation that doesn't suck a bag of dicks, because the last Halo adaptation, which was the TV series, was a disaster. It was just awful. Got shots of Master Chief's naked ass. Because that's exactly what fans of Halo wanted to see. They wanted to see Master Chief's ass. That's what we were looking forward to the most, right? Not me. So, I'm glad it's doing well. But on the same talk, apparently I can't speak. Probably because I'm just so discombobulated by just the ridiculousness and just the sheer just stupidity behind John Leguizamo's thought process when it comes to his own just invented controversy about the Super Mario Brothers movie, the recent one. It's just thinking about it makes my brain hurt. Yeah, John Leguizamo, who played Luigi in the 1993 film, he's been on a tirade lately on social media and other platforms talking about how the film isn't progressive enough and it doesn't have enough representation of Latin actors. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up, John. Why? Why are you talking? Why are you talking shit like this? Luigi wasn't Latin to begin with, but they took a chance in the 1993 film, and I think it was a good chance to take. It's not like Bob Hoskins was Italian either when he played Mario in the same movie that you co-starred in 1993. It's not like the voice actor for Mario was actually Italian either. And also, what you're saying is stupid because Anya Taylor-Joy actually does have some Latin blood in her. So saying that there's no representation at all is bullshit because you have Anya Taylor-Joy in the cast. So do us all a favor, John, and just shut up. Take a break from social media and just stop with this nonsense. Just looking at the list again, you've got more trailers like Secret Invasion, Nick Fury is back, and more shit to do with the scrolls or the Kree, and I really don't care. Don't care. Not interested. That's a no from me. Uh Extraction 2, it's not really a trailer, it's just really just an extended clip from the movie, but it looks good. Definitely looks like it's got some good fight choreography. Blue Beetle, I actually liked the trailer. I didn't like the whole line from George Lopez at the end where he says that Batman is a fascist, but I actually didn't mind the rest of the trailer because I have to admit I like Blue Beetle, and I like the actor who's playing Blue Beetle in the film. Like I do. I like the fact that you have Zolo, who played Miguel in Cobra Kai. He's the lead. He plays Blue Beetle in it, and it just looked like a fun film. I didn't mind the visuals. I think the CGI is not entirely finished, so I think they're gonna, do some extra tweaking in the future and make it look a little bit better. I didn't mind some of the action bits. It looked less generic to me than Shazam, which Fury of the Gods apparently is setting records in the worst way. It's setting records for being one of the biggest modern bombs when it comes to a superhero or comic book film. That's definitely not the record you want to set. Like it's so bad. Even my cat's like, ooh, yeah, Shazam's box office. Um, that's something that's definitely gonna make me want to get up and take a hike. But yeah, Blue Beetle, I think it'll definitely do better. I think it'll do better than Shazam 2 in the box office because you'll have like people who are fans of Cobra Kai who go see the movie because of Zolo. And if I said his name wrong, I apologize. But I think it looks like it could be fun. And I'm admittedly biased because I do like Blue Beetle as a character. So I know there are some people who are like, why are they making a Blue Beetle movie? And I'm over here like, it's about time they're making a Blue Beetle movie. Um, there's a new Fatal Attraction TV remake coming out on Paramount Plus, starring Lizzie Kaplan. I really like Lizzie Kaplan too. I thought she was just a total sweetheart in Hot Tub Time Machine, and it sucks to see her having to just slum her way through shit like the Fatal Attraction remake or reboot. That looked completely forgettable. Disney announces there's going to be a live action remake of Moana, and I'm like, it's only been 6 years. Like, can you wait? And there were a lot of Pacific Islanders who were like, what? Can we get a sequel? Can we get Moana 2 instead of just a remake in live action that details different legends and different parts of our mythology? Because there's a lot more than what was represented in Moana. No, we're going to get a lazy remake that's in live action. I can understand why there are some Pacific Islanders who are not happy about that. They're like, this is bullshit. This is lame. And I can understand why people outside of, the Pacific Islands also think this is lame. Like, really? Like 6 years ago? It came out 6 years ago. What's next? A live action remake of Frozen? Gonna release a Frozen 3 and then a live action Frozen back to back? One after the other? So yeah, live action Moana. That looks like something that's definitely not worth it for me. And I don't think that's going to do that well, to be honest. I think that's going to not do nearly as well as Disney thinks, and Disney is in trouble. Speaking of Disney, $5.5 billion they lost. Disney Plus is hemorrhaging money. They fired like 7,000 people off their payroll, and they're probably not done. Their theme parks have been struggling post-pandemic. And a lot of their movies are just doing badly. Like, even Pixar films are not doing well. Like Strange World, that was a bomb. A pretty significant sized bomb for them. And a lot of their original animated films aren't making anything. And it's too bad because it's original and it's not just another sequel. It's not just another Toy Story or Frozen film. But they're not making money. So I get it. I understand why Disney's like, oh, well, we can't do a lot of these original films anymore for theaters because they're not making anything. So, and we're struggling and we're losing money. That's why Bob Iger is back in town. So, I guess let's just announce Toy Story 5. Let's announce another Frozen film because they know that will more than likely make money, but that'll only make money for so long. Look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's a prime example of that. That was their cash cow for many, many years. But right now, it's not doing as hot. Other than Spider-Man No Way Home, which is a film that was also co-financed and co-produced by Sony, their Marvel films have not been doing as well as they have been in years past. And even with No Way Home, they didn't even make... I think that was what it was called, No Way Home. That might have been the sequel. But I still haven't seen either of the Spider-Man movies after the first film, Homecoming. So if I got them wrong, my bad. But yeah, the third Spider-Man film in the new MCU, that one made a shit ton of money, over $1 billion, but a good chunk of that goes to Sony. So Disney didn't even get most of it. So yeah, Disney's not doing well. I mean, Avatar, I guess that definitely made a lot of money for them. Avatar 2, but that's only going to last them so long. And eventually they're going to have to find something else. And it's not looking good. That's for sure. And I'm wondering if all of these recent shakeups when it comes to what's going on with Disney and different parts of the studio and different parts of the company is why we're having delays on certain potential upcoming releases on physical media. Because I know The Abyss was supposed to come out in March, and there's been nothing since. And I'm just wondering if that's the reason why it's now definitely delayed because of all the shit that's going on with Disney, with all the people who are getting fired, all the people that are getting moved around, which is unfortunate because I'm really looking forward to that. And I know the transfer has been signed off on by James Cameron himself from an inside source, so I know that it's ready to go. That's what makes it even more frustrating, but is what it is. But yeah, Disney's they gotta turn shit around fast. Otherwise, it could get really ugly. It's already not great as it is, but it could get even uglier for them if they don't turn things around. Because they're getting other competition from other studios, and Marvel's not doing as well. The Marvels is going to bomb. I'm calling it here. That film is not going to do very well. The reaction to that trailer is not glowing. It's not positive, and rightfully so. The film looks terrible. It looks absolutely god awful. The CGI looks like shit you would see on the Sci-Fi Channel. The plot looks incredibly lame, having not one but three irritating, annoying Captain Marvels is not a good thing. The action looks uninspired. And when one of the biggest selling points is that you have an army of flurkins, an army of cats going down the stairs, then you know you're desperate. You know you're clinging onto some seriously large straws here, or grasping at some serious straws. Like, oh my god, look at the parade of kitties. It's like, so now we're just pandering to people who binge watch cute cat videos. Man, how the mighty have fallen. And yeah, the Marvels looks terrible. It looks like a TV movie. It looks like something that would premiere on Disney Plus. It does not look like a theatrical film. It really doesn't. And speaking of Marvel, might as well talk about another Marvel trailer, but this time with Sony, and that's Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel to the Spider-Verse movie, which once again I still haven't seen yet, but I definitely do want to check that out sometime. I was curious about this because of Spider-Man 2099 being in it. Because Spider-Man 2099 is one of my favorite Spider-Man incarnations. And so I was pretty excited to see Miguel and to see Spider-Man 2099 on film. But the latest trailer really, really bummed me out because it's essentially showing Miguel as the villain. Now, I know I've heard from the writer that he's not the villain and all of this, and I'm like, okay, he's going to be one of the villains. He's going to be one of the antagonists. You could tell in the trailer because he's constantly fighting Miles, but there's going to be some sort of redemption arc at the end of the movie. And there's going to be some other villain. And I don't really care because you went there. You made Miguel some kind of fractured hero and antagonist. And to me, that's such a low blow and that's so lame that there's no going back from that. You still went there. Even if he redeems himself at the end, which probably his redemption is going to detail him dying, because that's what happens in a lot of these films that have these flawed heroes, because they can't live, they have to die. Like, what happened in Spider-Man 2, he can't have Doc Ock live, he has to die despite him having a redemption arc. And I'm just like if he doesn't die, that'll be surprising, but I just don't like it. It's not a good first impression at all to me that Spider-Man 2099 is going to be one of the antagonists. And yeah, that just sours me on it. It really does sour me on Across the Spider-Verse, But it does look like it has some good animation. Does have some potential for sure. I'm definitely thinking that'll be a better, worthwhile film than Shrek 5, because we didn't need four Shrek films in the first place, and we definitely don't need five of them. I mean, the first two were good. The third film jumped the shark so badly that it got lost in the ocean and then eaten by other sharks. And then the fourth film kind of, sort of made up for it, but not really, because it was such a just mediocre movie. And the fifth film, it's like, really? We don't need a fifth Shrek movie. So yeah, Shrek 5, that honestly, it just, it's something that we don't need. And for one, what else is there to do with Shrek that hasn't already been done? With something like the Barbie movie, which is crazy to think, that's actually something unique. That's something a little different. You haven't really seen a live action Barbie before. Um, and I'm honestly kind of curious about it. I like the look of the film. I like the visual style. I like Margot Robbie. Um, I like Ryan Gosling. I don't know about some of the humor, like the whole I'll beach off you so hard or whatever. I'm like, that is some. I mean, I was surprised by that because that's a blowjob joke. That's what that is. That's a BJ joke in a kids movie. So I'm like, what audience is this for? Now I'm confused. You have BJ jokes in a Barbie movie. I'm like, is this for kids or is this for adults? I'm not sure. I'm really not. I'll beach off you so hard. It's like, um, but yeah, there's a blowjob joke, but there's some other stuff that's kind of fun, and I do like that. I do admittedly like the style of the film. Probably won't see it in the theater, and I don't honestly know what's going on with this plot. Oh, she's gonna go into the real world, and I'm like, that's kind of been done before, but I don't know. At least it's something a little different. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily good, but at least it's something a little different. Illumination is doing some new animated movie called Migration, and it's about ducks, who are migrating. I'm like, oh, who really don't care? Don't care about that. If you're a fan of Clone High, HBO Max is actually reviving that show. I don't know if that's a positive or a negative considering today's climate. Joker 2, the production is wrapped apparently. I've seen the photos of Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. I don't feel Joker needed a sequel, especially not one that's like some pseudo musical. I'll wait. I guess I'll wait to share my more in depth or detailed thoughts until the trailer drops at the very least. Five Nights at Freddy's is getting an adaptation. Seems like it's way, way, way too late in the game, because Five Nights at Freddy's used to be like this huge phenomenon on YouTube, and it's not really nearly as popular as it once was. It'll probably still do all right because of the fan base that it already has and that's been previously established. But even a Five Nights at Freddy's adaptation isn't really anything that unique because you had the Banana Splits movie already and you had Willy's Wonderland. Honestly, a lot of these trailers that I've seen, a lot of this news that I'm reading, like one of the few things I'm looking forward to is this documentary that's going to be coming out this summer called Still, a Michael J. Fox movie. Because I'm a huge fan of Michael J. Fox. I grew up watching the Back to the Future films, and I think we were robbed of his prime because if you really think about it, when it comes to the amount of films that he starred in post Back to the Future, it's not very many because of his Parkinson's. And even during the shooting of films like The Hard Way, he was starting to deal with it. He was starting to get symptoms. So we had healthy prime Michael J. Fox after his work in Back to the Future in terms of doing films and working on projects like Casualties of War and so on. We had that prime Michael J. Fox for not even 10 years, if you really think about it. I mean, barely 10 years, I guess. Or maybe a little over that because he was in the Frighteners, but at that point he was full blown dealing with Parkinson's. So it was really starting to affect him then. So, in terms of Parkinson's free Michael J. Fox, yeah, it might be less than a decade. And it's a bummer when you think about it, but he's still such an inspiring person because of how he's persevered and all the work that he's done for the Parkinson's uh uh cause. And the documentary looks like it'll be bittersweet because of what happened to Michael J. Fox, and the situation that was out of his control with Parkinson's. But it looks like a winner to me. It looks really good. And it looks like the definitive like Michael J. Fox documentary. And I think he deserves a feature-length documentary. He really does. So I'm really looking forward to that. Now, looking up some other stuff here. Oh yeah, Dial of Destiny, the new trailer for the new Indiana Jones movie. And the one the one featuring Sympathy for the Devil, the Rolling Stones song in the background. I don't understand why they thought that was a good fit. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man, a baby taste, and I'm like, I've been around for a long, long time. Is that why? Because Indy's so old. Um, yeah, it's just a bad fit, and it was just a very lackluster trailer, just like the previous trailer. It just is furthermore a example of why this is so totally unneeded and so totally unnecessary. And this is more than likely going to be bad. Like, people thought Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was bad, and I've always disagreed with that. But a lot of people's concerns for this, I think, are very justified. I mean, just for the fact that Harrison is 81. He's 81 years old. And you can tell in the trailers that he's not doing much when it comes to stunts or fights. It's all a stunt double with CGI on top of it. And then you have all these other scenes with time travel involving young Indy. And the time travel shit is also just something that I feel is just even more ridiculous than a UFO to me. It really is. It's more ridiculous than aliens in Indiana Jones, time travel. It opens up so much more issues by just opening up that box, the time travel box. And it just seems like it's just an excuse to have to showcase the latest in effects in terms of showing young Indy. That's really what it looks like. It looks like the time travel shit is just a gimmick. And I know I've heard from Frank Marshall that a lot of the rumors that are swirling around the film about these different endings, about Indy dying or Indy being replaced, or not true. But why would he ever confirm the rumors to begin with? So there's no way to really know for sure where the truth lies until you actually see the film. Because there's no way that anyone involved with the production of the movie is going to be like, yeah, those rumors you heard on the internet that sound like shit and make the movie sound like a total fucking joke. Yeah, that's all true. They're not going to double down on that because that'll just make it so people won't see the movie. So yeah, I don't care what Frank Marshall said. It doesn't matter to me. Because it's not like he's going to tell the truth and say that the rumors were accurate in the first place. And I heard a lot of the same shit when it comes to The Last Jedi, and the leaks were true. Or The Predator, and the leaks were true for that too. And speaking of Star Wars, I guess there is a title for James Mangold's movie, Dawn of the Jedi. because it's a prequel to the prequels, because it takes place before the prequels. And I'm like, so I really don't care at this point. You've milked it. You've milked the teat of Star Wars so much to the point where the teat is falling off and you're just milking the air. And speaking of like milking shit, Blumhouse with their Exorcist trilogy. I'm like, I still don't get why they wasted millions of dollars to do this. The Exorcist has never been a successful franchise. Even the third film, which has a cult following, bombed. It's not like the beginning was amazing and did great with critics and had like a spectacular box office either. And Dominion definitely didn't. And Exorcist 2 was infamous for being one of the worst sequels ever at the time of its release. So why? Why do the sequel all these years later with Ellen Burstyn, who looks like she's going to burst a hip? Like, why? Just nostalgia? But this doesn't make sense, though, in terms of the nostalgia. Because other than the first Exorcist, not a lot of people in the mainstream horror audience have any amount of nostalgia for this franchise. But it'll probably do well, because that's just the state of things. It's going to be the next Blumhouse horror film, and so it'll do well in the theater, and critics will say it's the best film since the first Exorcist, and then we'll get the trilogy, because that's just the way it is. I feel like Horace Pinker and Shocker lately, in a multitude of different ways. Like I'm Horace Pinker, where I'm feeling like I want just kick a lot of these people's asses who are working in Hollywood today, and be like, kick his ass. And then I'm also feel like Horace Pinker because I'm like, and that's the way it is. But yeah, so much Star Wars shit. Indiana Jones Funko Pops. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, the Marvels trailer, which was terrible. Oh, speaking of horror, how about A24's next horror masterpiece? The trailer that dropped for Talk to Me. And there's a hand. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah, talk to the hand? Was Arnold going to show up in this movie in a cameo as the Terminator with those stupid glasses and be like, talk to the hand? But yeah, talk to me. Where there's this fucking mannequin hand that's, I guess, haunted or some shit. So we have another demonic haunting possession movie. Great. Because we definitely don't have enough of those. People were talking about, oh, it's going to scare the daylights out of you. And, oh, it's by these YouTubers named Raka Raka. Like, Raka Raka. Like, what? Are they big fans of Fozzie Bear and Waka Waka? Like, Raka Raka? Waka Waka? They're doing this movie, and I'm like, it looks like generic shit. It looks like the same shit I've seen a million times when it comes to a horror film. The only difference is it's from Australia and they got accents. Oh, great. It must be a masterpiece now because it's from another country and people have accents. It's what it seems like with a lot of these A24 films. Oh, they speak in accents? Then it's a masterpiece. Or just the fact that it's released by A24. But yeah, I just that looked terrible to me, and so did Fool's Paradise, the Charlie Day Passion Project. It's like Dave, you know that movie Dave with Kevin Kline, where he plays the president because the president is incapacitated, and they get this guy who's a lookalike to be the president. Well, this time around, it's like a Hollywood version of that, where Charlie Day plays this actor who's a piece of shit, and he winds up getting replaced by this lookalike, and the whole shtick is that he's like Charlie Chaplin because he's mute, and he does a lot of physical comedy and slapstick. And I know it's a passion project of Charlie's because he wrote and directed it, but it doesn't look very good. And I know Ray Liotta's in it; it's one of his last roles, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna automatically give it praise. It looked lame to me. It didn't look funny. It didn't look interesting. It just looked boring. Like I said, it just felt like a rehashed Dave, but a heck of a lot less interesting because it's about a movie star. And also, that's been done before. I don't remember exactly what film it was, but there was another movie that had something like that where there was a look-alike. This I think it started like a female actress or something, and her stunt double or whatever took over for her or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember seeing a trailer for that. Oh, speaking of stuff that you won't remember, how about the trailer for Peter Pan and Wendy? You're not going to remember much about that after it's over, just like you won't remember much of the movie once it eventually comes out, because it'll be that forgettable. I don't know why Disney. This is why Disney Plus is hemorrhaging money. They're wasting money on crap like this that looks like actual garbage because of the filtering and all the colors being sapped out. The CGI is cheap as all hell and looks fake. You have the casting, which is just another one of those let's check off every diversity column we possibly can. And that's the only thing we have on our mind during the casting process, not the acting talent, because definitely isn't the acting talent, because every scene you see the new Peter Pan in is pretty cringe-inducing to watch because you're so blown away by how incompetent and how terrible he is when it comes to his line delivery. The actress who plays Wendy isn't much better. And they did ease back on some of the woke stuff in this trailer. There's not the whole like, oh, actually we're not the Lost Boys. They don't have that. But it still doesn't really make much of a difference because it still looks cheap and it looks terrible. And then it doesn't help either. Like the last line is like, oh, to grow up would be a big adventure. And I'm like, oh, like the end of Hook? No, to live would be an awfully great adventure. Oh, wow, that sounds very familiar. Yeah, because it's almost identical to the same line that ended Hook. Like, what kind of bullshit is that? Lazy. Knocking off Hook over here. Making me want to watch Hook even more now. Over Peter Pan and Wendy. Or the Marvels. Which, once again, that trailer is so bad. CGI is some of the worst that I've seen for any film that's supposed to come out in a theater. Like the stuff with Monica in space. Man, that was just rough. And just why? Just dump that shit to Disney Plus. Just quit while you're ahead. Dump it to Disney Plus. It already has a Disney Plus character in it and Kamala Khan. Just dump it to Disney Plus. It's not going to do well. It isn't. Ant-Man 3 didn't do well. This could arguably do worse. I think the only Marvel film that's going to come out this year is going to make any money is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And here's another thing. Like, I know I hear the argument for a lot of people when it comes to like all these Hollywood projects that are just generic or lazy or just rehashes or just adaptations of stuff that we've already played, already know about. And it's about money, right? Well, if that's the case, why is it that a lot of these remakes, reboots, and some of these sequels, they underperform in the box office? And even after they underperform, they still make them. They still make more of them. Like you get like a Witchboard remake by Chuck Russell. Like, great, that's the best thing he can get is a Witchboard remake. Well, that sucks. That's sad. Or another Children of the Corn. Yeah, the Children of the Corn remake. We got another one this year. Or how about Faces of Death? Yeah, let's do a remake of Faces of Death. I mean, what we're witnessing is further examples of the death of originality in Hollywood. And I get it. It's easy. It's easier to do this instead of creating something unique and original and your new franchise with new characters and so on. But that doesn't mean you need to give up and just be like, oh, there's superhero films and everything till the dawn of time and the same horror franchises over and over again. Because do we really need another Saw film? We didn't need as many Saw films as we got to begin with. And here's another one. Here's another Final Destination film that's in the works. I'm like, why? We only didn't even barely need 3 of those movies, let alone 5. And now you want to do a 6th film? The rumored Nightmare on Elm Street reboot or real sequel. It's going to be like Halloween 2018. Which I might as well just accept the fact that that's going to happen. We're going to have like 85-year-old Robert Englund coming in with his fucking walker as Freddy and, trying to go after Nancy again, who's got even more gray hair now. I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. But just hold on 1 second. It's gonna take me a bit to get over there. I'm gonna be your boyfriend, Nancy. I just gotta take a moment. Like ridiculous, stupid. We just stop already. Just quit while you're ahead, please. And watch a film like Renfield, which is actually trying to be something a little different or a little unique, is gonna bomb. It's gonna bomb in the box office. It's gonna flop, and there'll be people who will see it and be like, "That was fun. Love to see more of that." And you won't see more of that because it didn't do well. Said we'll just see a billion video game movies. That's what's gonna happen. And like I said, I am kind of looking forward to it, but I'm also kind of not, because I know what will happen. These studios will just milk the fuck out of this video game film genre until there's nothing left. There's nothing left at all. And we'll start getting like adaptations of some obscure ass video games like Abadox. You'd be like, the fuck is Abadox? It's the new movie that's coming out from Paramount. Abadox. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about movie news. I think I've talked your ear off enough about a lot of the topics, a lot of the trailers that have dropped. Until the next time and the next Talking Cinema, I'll see you later. See ya.